The Third Testament, Section 10. Materialism and Spiritualism. Chapter 47, Materialism and Spiritualism. The impact of the prevailing materialism. 1. Verily, I say unto you, many will flee my teaching for fear of spiritualization, but it will not be reason or spirit that speaks in them, but the base passions of the flesh, soul. 2. When a spirit lives devoted to truth, he flees materialism like one who removes himself from a polluted environment. The superior spirit finds his happiness in morality, where peace reigns, where love dwells. 99, 41-42. 3. Search my word until you are certain of its purity and its truth. Only in this way will you be able to boldly go your way and stand firm against the intrusion of materialistic ideas that threaten the spirit. For materialism is death, is darkness, is yoke and poison to the spirit. Never exchange the light or the freedom of your spirit for earthly bread or for poor material goods. For truly, I say to you, he who trusts in my law and perseveres in faith to the end will never lack material sustenance, and in the moments of his communion with my Spirit he will always receive, through my infinite mercy, the bread of eternal life. 34, 61-62. 5. Materialism stands in the way of the development of the Spirit as a tremendous obstacle. Humanity has stopped in front of this wall. 6. You find yourselves in a world in which man has been able to develop his powers of reason in application to material science. But his judgment of the existence of the spiritual is still limited. His knowledge of all that which does not belong wholly to matter has been left behind. 271, 37-38. 7. The trials that your world is going through are the signs of the end of an age, are the downfall or the death throes of an age of materialism, for materialism has been in your science, in your aims and in your passions. Materialism has determined your reverence for me, and also all your works. 8. Love of the world, greed for earthly things, the desire of the flesh, the pleasure of all lower desires, selfishness, self-love and pride were the power with which you created a life according to your intelligence and human will, the fruits of which I let you reap so that your experience might be perfect. 9. But when this age, which is now coming to an end, will be marked in the history of mankind by its materialism, truly I tell you, the new age will be marked by its spirituality, for in it the conscience and the will of the Spirit on earth will establish a world of beings who are generous through love, a life in which one feels the Spirit of the Father vibrating in the spirit of the children, because then all the gifts and abilities that are hidden in your being today will have infinity as a field of activity. 305. 41-42. The Essence of Spiritualism. 10. Spiritualism is not a mixture of religions. It is the most pure and perfect teaching in its simplicity, the light of God coming down to the human spirit in this third age. 273, 50. 11. Spiritualism I have called revelation, which speaks to you of the life of the Spirit, which teaches you to communicate directly with your Father and which lifts you above material life. 12. Verily, I tell you, spiritualism is nothing new, nor does it belong only to this time, but it has been a revelation which has been revealed more and more in accordance with the spiritual development of mankind. 13. Since the teaching I give you is spiritualism, which teaches you perfect love for God and for your neighbor, and invites you on the way that leads to perfection, Spiritualism was also what the law of God taught you in the first age and the word of Christ in the second age. 289, 20-22. 14. Spiritualism is not a religion, it is the same teaching which I spread in the person of Jesus for the guidance of all people of all times in the world. It is my teaching of love, justice, understanding and forgiveness. 15. In this third age I have only spoken to you with greater clarity because of your spiritual, physical, and intellectual development. 359, 60-61. 16. Spiritualism comes to destroy customs and traditions that were introduced by men and that have stopped the spirit. Spiritualism is continuous development and upliftment of the spirit, which purifies and perfects itself by means of its abilities and qualities until it reaches its Creator. Spiritualism shows the way in which the Spirit receives, feels and expresses His Lord. Spiritualism frees the Spirit and brings it to development. 17. The spiritual is universal power and universal light, which is in everything and belongs to all. My teachings should not seem strange to anyone. 18. The qualities of the Spirit are unchanging, because they are virtues of my divinity, eternal powers. Understand, however, that depending on how you have lived, the purity you show will be greater or lesser. 214, 57-59. Who can rightly call himself a spiritualist? 19. Anyone who has attained a certain spirituality because of his perseverance, his development, and his love for the Father's teachings will be a spiritualist, even if his lips do not say so. 20. He who has faith and shows generosity in his actions will reflect what his spirit possesses. 236, 27-28. 21. The spiritualist knows that the Almighty is in everything, that the world, the universe, and infinity are permeated by my essence and presence. 22. Whoever recognizes and understands me in this way is a living temple of God and will no longer materialize the revelations of the Spirit through symbols or images. 213, 31-32. 23. Spiritualism is the revelation which reveals and teaches you all that you possess and carry within you. It makes you realize that you are a work of God, that you are not only matter, that there is something above your flesh that lifts you above the plane of nature that surrounds you and above the filth of your passions. 24. When man attains spirituality, every commandment and teaching will be a part of the light of his spirit. Even if his memory does not retain a single sentence or word of my teaching, he will carry its essence within him because he has understood it, because he feels it, and because he follows it. 240, 17-18. 25. The good spiritualist will be the one who, in spite of all the poverty of material goods, will feel master, rich and happy, because he knows that his Father loves him, that he has brothers and sisters to love, and that the treasures of the world are secondary to the riches of the Spirit. 26. Also he will be a good spiritualist who, as the owner of material goods, knows how to use them for good purposes and uses them as means given to him by God to fulfill an important mission on earth. 27. It is not absolutely necessary to be poor, despised, or wretched to be among those who follow me, just as it is not necessary to be among those who suffer in order to be loved by me. In truth, I tell you that according to my will you should always be strong, healthy and owner of all that I have created for you. 28. When will you know how to be owners of your heritage, to appreciate every grace and give everything its rightful place in life. 87,28, 30. Spiritualism in the religions and denominations. 29. Today men are living through an epoch of confusion because they have not understood that all their life and all their efforts should lead them to the unfolding of their spirit, whose aim should be the dialogue of their spirit with that of the Creator. 30. The cult to which the majority of men today profess is materialism. 31. As long as the doctrines of faith and religions insist on their differences, the world will continue to feed its hatred and will not be able to take the decisive step toward true worship of God. 32. But when will men understand and unite and thus take the first step to love one another, when there are still people who, believing that they possess the key or secret to the salvation of spirit beings and the keys of eternal life, do not recognize all those who walk in other ways because they believe they are not worthy to come to God. 33. Be aware, then, of the true goal of spiritualism, whose teaching is above every denomination, every human ideology, and every sect. 297, 38-41. 34. Spiritualism is not a new teaching that seeks to achieve the development of the faith teachings of past times. No, it is the same revelation as those of the first and second times. It is the foundation of all religions, of which I want to remind mankind in these times of separation, so that it does not forget its origins. 35. The works of man, his customs and the way to impress the senses to flatter and be proud of his different religions, are contrary to what my work wants to show to the world. 363, 9. 36. In this time I am giving you new teachings to reflect upon, teachings of love that will redeem and uplift you, truths that, though bitter, will be light in your way. 37. Spiritualism in this time, like Christianity in the past, will be fought and persecuted with anger, cruelty and rage, but in the midst of the struggle the spiritual will appear, performing miracles and conquering hearts. 38. Materialism, selfishness, pride and love for the world will be the forces that will rise against this revelation, which is not new nor different from the one I have brought to you in the past times. The teaching which I have now revealed to you, and which you call spiritualism, is the core of the law and of the teaching which was revealed to you in the first and second times. 39. When mankind understands the truth of this teaching, its righteousness and the infinite knowledge it reveals, it will expel from its heart every fear, every prejudice and make it the guideline of its life. 24, 48-51. 40. Verily, I tell you, in all parts of the world there are scattered spiritualists, mature people who will bring peace to mankind. 41. But I tell you that the union between spiritualists of the whole world will not be through the organization of a new church, for its strength will not be material, their unity will be mental, idealistic and in terms of their work, and in this way their strength will be invincible, since they have drawn it from the eternal source which is in my spirit. 42. To all of them I inspire my truth and also haunt them, so that all impurities may escape from their hearts and minds, since these must not mix with my light. 43. They all have the duty to see that the spiritualist teaching is explained and clearly discernible through their spiritual faculties and is not defiled by human philosophies. 299, 30-32. 44. Verily, I tell you, the history of spiritualism will be written in the history of mankind with luminous letters. 45 Did not Israel make itself immortal by the liberation from the Egyptian yoke? Did not the Christians, in their triumphal march, make themselves immortal through love? Likewise, spiritualists will make themselves immortal in their struggle for freedom of the spirit. 8,64-65